WBEN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Thursday, November 8th, 2018. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. Sure happy it's Thursday. We have got a lot of stuff to talk about today, and the phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, opinions, and let you have your little say, your First Amendment expression about what's going on here. Okay, the midterm elections supposedly are over, but the circus is continuing, and I think the general impression is that our elections are about as real as professional wrestling. And the circus is definitely in town. There are all of these Democrats who are refusing to concede. They're demanding recounts. They're filing lawsuits all over the place. Down in Florida, the Democrats have a new buzzword. It's called undervoting. Okay, we had people who undervoted. And so Gillum has unconceded, is demanding a recount, and mysteriously thousands of new votes are turning up for Gillum and Nelson just in the last 36 hours. Rubio is out there sounding the alarm, saying that, yeah, it looks like they're trying to steal the election because they've come up with all these previously unknown votes hours after the polls were closed. In fact, somebody actually got it on video. Boxes of ballots being transported in private vehicles and transferred to the rented trucks being used to take them to the polling places. This completely violates all chain of custody requirements for the paper ballots. And so, yeah, they're out there, they're cheating again. I don't know. I don't think Broward County's ever had an honest election in its entire history. But it is a circus out there, and it needs to be changed. And Donald Trump said he was going to change it, and he hasn't. He's dropped the ball on that one. Over in Texas, Beto O'Rourke spent $20.29 per vote, still lost. And we're hearing apparently out in places like Arizona, they're demanding recounts. There's going to be a runoff, and we're going to be living with this for a while now here. Okay, so let's talk about the new acting Attorney General, Matthew Whitaker. Apparently back in 2016, he published an op-ed disagreeing with then FBI Director James Comey's judgment that there was no reasonable prosecutor would bring a case against Hillary Clinton, and Whitaker disagreed. So it could very well be that Whitaker, as the new AG, is finally going to take action against Hillary Clinton and some of these other individuals. I mean, at least under Title 18. Even if they don't touch the email server, even if they don't touch the potential for espionage, even if they leave the Clinton Foundation alone, one felony conviction under Title 18 will keep Hillary out of the 2020 election cycle, and that would make me very, very happy indeed. All right, well, as you've probably heard, because it is the big shooting out in California, they had this shooting at a country bar during student night, and apparently it was a former Marine, 28 years old, wearing a trench coat, walked into this bar, country music bar in Southern California, out in Thousand Oaks, and just opened fire at random. Shot the cashier, shot the bouncer, and then started shooting the dancers. Now, he had PTSD from his war experience. I'm going to take a guess here that he was on antidepressants of some kind. And he apparently committed suicide in the bar, and that's the big story. Everybody's out there right now. And used a .45 caliber handgun, did not use the gun grabber's favorite weapon, the AR-15. So they can't go on out there and scream about that one here. Now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Supreme Court Justice, apparently had an accident last night. She took a bad fall in her office, and being as old as she is, she fractured 3 ribs, and she's currently in the hospital at George Washington University Hospital in Washington, D.C. And she's been admitted to the hospital for observation and treatment, but we've heard that she has cracked 3 ribs, which is going to make breathing very difficult. We are hearing from other sources that her cancer has come out of remission. She's been dealing with cancer going back to 1999, colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, and we're hearing from other sources. She will retire from the U.S. Supreme Court January of next year, which means Trump gets to appoint a new Supreme Court justice, and we get to go through that whole Brett Kavanaugh circus all over again. Oh, 47 years ago, he touched me on my private parts, and I have no evidence about it, but you should believe me. And you know the Democrats are going to do that. The Democrats are going to fight tooth and nail because they want a liberal Supreme Court to push their liberal agenda. So we will have to go through that whole circus all over again. All right, we're going to do, excuse me a second. We're going to do a shout out to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining our network here. And already the left are responding to the firing of Jeff Sessions. They're out there screaming, see, it's proof there's a cover-up. Trump is trying to cover up the Russia collusion and all the other things that we've been accusing him of. Sessions just wasn't doing his job when you come right down to it. Sessions was spending all these resources on an absolutely pointless, politically driven witch hunt, and Trump had every right to fire him. And he had every right to take Rod Rosenstein off the Mueller investigation and every right to put Whitaker in charge, which means that this thing is going to kind of like crank down. However, the leftists are out there. They're organizing protests in 900 cities to protest the firing of Jeff Sessions. And apparently they were ready to go. They got web pages up already. They got these the call out on social media, and they're calling for all these protests to be held on November 8th, which is today, at 5 p.m. local time. I'm going to take a guess here that people aren't really going to show up for this. I think after the elections and after Kavanaugh and everything, I think everybody's kind of burned on out, dancing to the left's puppet strings, unless the left has got a lot more money to hand on out for paid protesters, which they probably do here. So, apparently Chris Christie's been spotted at the White House. There may be some major changes coming, which I would say are long overdue. Okay, and I keep saying this before. Trump's biggest mistake coming into the White House, he wanted to be magnanimous in victory. Yes, we were enemies, now we're all friends. And he kept all those Obama holdovers, figuring that now that he was the boss, they'd be loyal to him. Well, it may work that way in business. It doesn't work that way in Washington, D.C. I guess after 2 years, Trump has finally figured that out. But yeah, it's time for Trump to get rid of the obstructionists in his administration and fill that White House with people who are going to back him up, people who are going to be genuinely loyal to Donald Trump and his agenda, the agenda that he campaigned on. I still want to be head of NASA, by the way, Donald, if you're listening to the show here. And my first directive as head of NASA will be to order all the ground crews to dress up like apes every time there's a returning spacecraft. All righty. Antifa is back out there. They're in the news. They have been targeting Tucker Carlson at his home. and they're out there screaming, "We know where you sleep at night." They confronted Ted Cruz at a restaurant last month. And these are the same people, went to Tucker Carlson's home, ringing the doorbell and saying, "Tucker Carlson, we will fight. We know where you sleep at night." And again, this is getting violence. Now, Rob Reiner, who is a filmmaker, actor, activist, probably better known as Meathead, is calling for liberals to man the battle stations and drag President Donald Trump out of the White House. Well, Rob, I'd like to see you try and do it. I think I would actually pay money to see you try and do that, mostly because I would enjoy seeing the whooping that you would get at the hands of the United States Secret Service Protective Detail. But I'm getting very tired, very concerned of all these liberals who are just calling for violent actions. So I think what's going on here is, even though the Democrats captured the House of Representatives, they didn't capture it by the margin they thought they were going to. They didn't capture the Senate. They're still trying to contest a couple of those seats, but they're not going to get back, they're not going to get 5 back and take control of it. It's just not going to happen. So I think the incivility is, in fact, going to continue. They didn't get what they wanted. I mean, they've got the House of Representatives, which means we've got 2 years of gridlock to look forward to. So they're going to still throw tantrums in the street here. Okay. Story coming out of American Patriot Daily is claiming that Robert Mueller is planning something big for Trump's impeachment. And the story goes, Robert Mueller spent months laying in the weeds, and he went dark during the fall because of the midterm election, and now he's about to launch his endgame. That's nonsense. It's wishful thinking. If Mueller had anything he would have moved by now, he would have moved before the midterms to shift the midterms more toward the Democrats by tarnishing the entire Republican Party with whatever Trump scandals he had. So it's wishful thinking, and they're still out there. And Pelosi, of course, she thinks she's going to be the Speaker of the House again, and she's out there. We're gonna take the entire House of Representatives. We're gonna weaponize it. We're gonna hit them with subpoenas. We're gonna find a reason to impeach Donald Trump. So, now, interestingly enough, to show you just how saturated with politics this nation has become, they're already talking 2020. We just got past the 2018 midterms. They're already talking 2020. Who's going to be running? Who's going to be doing this? So apparently over at Hill TV, they ran a poll regarding potential Democratic candidates for 2020. And they put up Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Bernie Sanders. None of the above won. Biden apparently came in second. I got to tell you, it just gives me the chills that they're even thinking Hillary is going to step back in. So I hope Whitaker nails her. Just one little tiny felony conviction under Title 18. Don't even have to send her to jail. One felony conviction, she's out of 2020. And we can all sleep better at night. All right, we're going to take a phone call now from Kevin in West Virginia. Aloha, Kevin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mr. Mike. I have 2 things that are on my mind. The first one is Whitaker.
Yeah.
I think this man's a fire breather, and I think you're going to get your wish.
Good.
If that makes, I think. At least that's what my tea leaves are showing.
Okay.
This guy, he won't, they wanted him to, accuse himself from the Russia probe, and he won't do it. So, I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see Sessions out. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was Jim Acosta from CNN.
Yeah.
This man, to me, is fomenting violence. Look how disrespectful he is. Look how he won't stop.
Yep.
I mean, and now you have people from The View that want to have this lady arrested. Where are the feminists now? I mean, all plays together. I think CNN is the ones that's behind, well, one of the people that are behind fomenting violence in this country. And I think Jim Acosta is the point man.
Well, yeah, I think he deserved to have his press credentials pulled. Trump is the president, and you can respectfully disagree with him, and you can question him. But when you're trying to grandstand your own fame in the White House press room, I can understand why Sarah Sanders was constantly berating him, and why Trump was referring to the hostile press, because they are. The corporate media has a vastly overinflated opinion of their own importance to society, especially in the era of the independent media, where we have captured the lion's share of the audience. So they're out there trying to basically grandstand and say, we're still important, we're still relevant, we can get to the president and shout insults at him. Well, not anymore.
Exactly. And I'm just, I think there's a good thing with this Whitaker guy. I don't know too much, so I'm going to have to dig my research out onto this guy, who he really is.
Yeah.
But I like what I see so far. But
yeah,
you have
so
a great
far
day,
I'm liking it.
Again,
because of his opinions regarding Comey's refusal to prosecute Hillary. I'd like to see him prosecute Hillary. We do know he's a Republican. We do know he's a Trump loyalist. And he certainly has the credentials to be running the Department of Justice. And time will tell us how real he's going to be, or if he can be corralled as well. But we're past the midterms. Trump has effectively a year and a half to show us that he really is the man that we voted for in 2016, before the 2020 elections get here.
Totally agree. And one more thing that I want to say.
Yeah.
QAnon got blown out of the water with this, didn't they? With that whole fake psyop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. That definitely was a psyop. Well, you have a great day, and give Miss Claire the best.
I certainly will. Thank you very much. And we're going to switch over to Andrea in Oklahoma. Aloha, Andrea. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha. And I hope the results for Claire was wonderful, I hope. But my subject was, on the radio yesterday, they were talking about this Julie Swetnick has now said that all this was made up, it was a lie and everything.
Yep.
But the repercussions from the Democrats and her lies is, if a woman is having a heart attack and there's only men around, they're not probably going to help her out. And they're going to think, well, heck, this woman's going to claim, if I try to give her mouth-to-mouth or try and massage her heart because of she has those bosoms there, and she's probably going to claim being molested and all sorts of things, and they're not going to give her any assistance. And to top it, women lie, like Julie Swetnick.
Yeah.
So I think this has totally been a big negative for women, and they need to stop. The Democrats need to stop and think about what they're doing to the rest of us. Because,
no, they never do. They never do. Back in the 1990s, when we went through that period of militant male bash feminism and the so-called rape crisis, which in hindsight never really existed, women were being encouraged to hit men with false accusations of rape. And the end result was that real rape victims were not being believed when they called the police. But again, for politicians, for opportunists, they don't care what harm they do to ordinary people. All they think about is their own wealth, their own power, their own fame, their own self-aggrandizement. They don't care about ordinary rape victims. Oh, yeah, they got raped. She probably deserved it. She was dressing provocatively. Anyway, listen, Andrea, we got to take a break for commercials, and I'm going to let you go here, and we'll be back with another phone call after these few words.
First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And we're going to go back to the phones to Art off the grid. Aloha, Art. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. With this whole thing, two different points. The first one with Tucker Carlson and this mob. I know we're not supposed to say the M word, but this mob that showed up to this house. I was reading the article, and it talked about how they had done damage to his door and part of his home security system. Well, that is destruction of private property, which now becomes a crime. And since his security system has video, I think somebody should be going to jail.
I agree.
Now, with the Trump and Acosta, Jim Acosta thing, it's interesting. First of all, you're supposed to be a reporter or journalist, which at a press conference, call me crazy, but I remember a day when press conferences were so the press could ask questions, not challenge the president. But be that as it may, this whole issue of Jim Acosta trying to tell Donald Trump that this is not an invasion of immigrants. Well, let's be fair here. let's go to the definition of invasion. Now, everyone, when you say invasion, of course, the first thing comes to mind is an enemy force, an army, a military incursion into a country. But what about, try this one, an incursion by a large number of people into another space or sphere?
Mm-hmm.
How about this one? An unwelcomed intrusion. Yeah, so I think there's two definitions right there that could absolutely be linked to this caravan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know that there are Middle Easterners in this caravan who are from those countries that were basically put on Trump's block list because they are state sponsors of terror. And I mean, it's a mob of angry people. They're approaching our border. They intend to cross that border without the permission of the U.S. government. They're waving the flag of a foreign nation. What more do you need to call it an invasion? They got guns and they got bombs. What more do you need? Do they have to be in uniforms before you say it's an invasion?
And they have individuals who have already been interviewed who have talked about why they were deported. They were deported for murder.
Yep.
And they want to come back here so they can apply for a pardon. Since when do you apply for pardons? I mean, this is just purely ridiculous. And you know, I'm almost at that point where I almost believe that Trump will be a one-term president because I don't see this being corrected. What would really throw everybody for a loop would be if Donald Trump would actually stand up and say, contrary to what you yo-yos might happen to think, I am the president, and if you go to the Constitution, you will find written right there in black and white on papyrus where I have the authority to control immigration into this country, and I'm going to act on that authority, whether you like it or not. And then on this issue of the elections with people not wanting to accept the results, it's interesting, first of all, how all these boxes of ballots suddenly showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, where have we seen that before?
Yep.
But then we have people challenging the results here in Georgia. And, Mike, I'm really hoping someone can explain this for me. Stacey Abrams is accusing Brian Kemp of trying to claim victory using old math. Old math as opposed to what?
Democratic math, you know, where 2 + 2 = 60.
Well, I guess, you know, hey, if boys can identify as girls, girls can identify as trees, you know, some guy can identify as a cow. I guess Democrats can identify as winners, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on here. Complete disconnect from reality.
It's insane, man. I don't get it. And then, you know, here's another thing. I'm still trying to figure out, waiting on somebody to explain this one to me. People are so quick to, I have a constitutional right, and then they elect people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who wants to take those rights away from you.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, remember,
I don't get it.
I mean, Alexandria, I mean, she made all kinds of promises. I'm going to give you all this free stuff. Not a word about how she's going to pay for it. And the bottom line is she can't. You know.
Oh, well, actually, she has answered when she's been asked how she was going to pay for it, and she actually did answer it. You want to hear what her answer is?
What?
You're not qualified to ask me that question.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. All right, well, listen, Art, we got to let you go. Got to take another break for commercials, and we'll be back after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And I'm looking at the feed on Fox News. And apparently the vice chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Warner, is making the rounds already, saying that, Whitaker can't be the acting attorney general. He's got conflicts of interest. They're already trying to get this guy out because he's not loyal to the Democrats. The signal we are getting is that Whitaker is actually going to look into those dark places the Democrats don't want looked into. And they're basically trying to focus on how this is all a cover-up and how he's going to end the Mueller investigation. And that Mueller was right to go dark for the last 60 days because of the midterms. No, he didn't go dark because of the midterms. He went dark because he's got nothing. So they want Whitaker out of there already. They want a loyal, Democratic, liberal, cover-up artist back in there. They're not going to get it here. So now that the midterms are over, I'm hoping we're going to start seeing some serious changes. Trump, if he really seriously wants to run in 2020, he's got to kick some butt. He's got to put on those presidential brass knuckles and show that he can be the president. Because up until now, he's come across, the perception, at least from where I'm sitting, is he's a weak leader. He's easily manipulated. He's susceptible to flattery. spends way too much time on Twitter. I'm sorry, he does. Anyway. Okay, so over at Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton is out there. They have now filed a lawsuit over the Awan brothers IT scandal. And once again, they filed Freedom of Information Act requests. They were turned down. They're having to sue. The cover-up continues. But there's something going on about the Awan brothers, especially the way that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was protecting Imran Awan and kept him on her payroll right up to the day he got arrested trying to leave the country. But this was a guy that is known to have broken into the computers of members of Congress, stole computer equipment from the government. It looks like it was a spy ring. And the question I have is, were they operating independently of or in partnership with what I suspect was an espionage ring run out of the State Department by Hillary Rodham Clinton, using her email server with its weak security to deliver U.S. secrets to foreign interests, and her so-called charitable foundation to collect and launder the money. And that's where Whitaker really ought to be looking. But I can understand that if he wants to live to see Christmas, he'll probably stay away from that one. So I'm willing to settle for less. Just give us a Title 18 felony conviction to knock her out of the 2020 race. I'll be happy. Is it really so much to ask? I mean, James Comey admitted on TV she mishandled classified information. Now, he tried to excuse her for it, saying she didn't mean to do wrong, but if you read Title 18, intent is not required. I remember Trey Gowdy making that point over and over again. Intent is not required by this. She mishandled classified information. Nail her. Book her, Dano. Okay, let's take a phone call. Mark in North Carolina. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I'm getting sick and tired of these Democrats, what they're doing. You know, I mean, with what's going on now with these votes, Trump needs to send that new Attorney General or his people down immediately to Coward County there in Florida and make sure that they can't get away with any with stealing this election. The other thing is, as far as this Attorney General goes, Trump got to make it clear right now. He's got to make an announcement and say, there's no way this man will not be replaced. He'll only over my dead body will he be replaced. That's what Trump should say. Well, I guess he still has to be appointed. Somebody has to still be appointed by the Senate. But at least I'm confident the Senate's not going to, that you're not going to overrule Trump on whoever he wants as Attorney General. This guy's got to make a stand. Everybody's got to make a stand. The Democrats are right. Well, not just the Democrats, Antifa and all these other groups are pushing closer and closer to that civil war we keep on talking about that we'd like to avoid. But at some point, we can't avoid it anymore. What they did to Tucker Carlson yesterday was an absolute disgrace. They smashed his door. They scared the you-know-what out of his family, his kids, his wife. Unfortunately, Washington, D.C. is almost impossible to have a gun, even to have it in your house. I don't know why he has a place for Washington, why he doesn't at least stay in Virginia, Mm-hmm. It's just getting out of hand, Mike. They're pushing it. They will lose if they want to take on Middle America. They'll lose. And by the way, don't trust the police, folks. Okay, especially in cities like Washington D.C. They're on the wrong side. Same thing with Portland, Oregon. Okay, that's why they were able to get away with murdering Seth Rich, and the police pretty much helped cover it up. They're dirtbags. They can't be trusted. And the same thing, of course, with the FBI. Maybe, I'm hoping, I'm praying now with his new Attorney General, he'll straighten that out. He'll get the FBI straightened out. Trump, to me, should get rid of Ray. Ray's another, clown that's worthless, and put in somebody from the outside, like a Sheriff David Clark. I think Dave Clark would be excellent for FBI director. If you got to keep the FBI at all, I would get rid of it personally. I think it's worthless, useless, but maybe if they had new management and a guy like a patriot like Sheriff Clark, maybe it would become something again. I don't know.
Well, you're going to have to replace more than just the guy at the top. I mean, I think the whole upper echelon at FBI, like attracts like, and they're all corrupted, and they're all angling for that center seat, and they're all part of the cover-up machine. And so I think that entire top level of management ought to be pink-slipped. Same thing at the Department of Justice, same thing at the Department of State.
I agree with you, but you have to have somebody first at the top that can make those changes and was willing to make those changes. And right now, you don't have that in the FBI.
No,
maybe we are going to have an adjustment. I got my fingers crossed, but I don't know. I don't trust any of these people. I think this government is about as corrupt as it's ever been in our history, and I just feel that we got the Democratic Party right now. It's not the Democratic Party I remember. I'm sure you don't remember either. It's not the party of JFK. It's not the party of FDR.
Nope.
It's not even the party of somebody like a Jimmy Carter anymore.
It's the party of free stuff. It's the party of men using the women's restroom. That's what the Democrats have become. And they've almost become a caricature themselves. And then there's certainly the party of cheating. They are the party of cheating. We're seeing that. We saw it 2016. We're seeing it again here at the midterms.
I just want to remind somebody what Stalin said. At least he's quoted as saying this. He said, "It doesn't matter how you vote. It matters who counts the votes." And that seems to be more and more what's going on in this country now. We're very close to being the old Soviet Union.
Oh,
and the funny thing is, Russia seems to be becoming the United States. It's incredible what's happening.
Yep.
Yep. That's about it, Mike. Like I said, let's keep our fingers crossed at this point that they can't get away with this thievery, and let's hope and pray that we can avoid a civil war. That I think it might come to some kind of, if Trump has the strength, some kind of martial law to get these people under control. But I don't know. I really don't. It just seems to me that we're really going down that slide, and God help us. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, we're definitely very close, not just to Stalin's Soviet Union, but even getting into Nazi Germany. When you look at what's going on around this country, and it is very scary. It's tragic to see it happening, and back when Vincent Foster got murdered was my real awakening to how corrupt the entire government was. And over the last almost quarter of a century, I've just seen it get worse and worse and worse and worse. It's just rotting away in front of my eyes.
Well, when you talk about Nazi Germany, right now I say the Soviet Union because it seems like the left is more on the, is more violent at this point in time than the right. But that could change too. Okay, you do have real Nazis out there too. I'm not talking about the fake, they try to call the Proud Boys Nazis or anything, but I'm saying you do have swastika-waving real Nazis out there, and they're boiling over also, and they're just as dangerous, if not more dangerous. Well, they're just as dangerous as the left, and they could get more active now too. That is what happened in Nazi Germany during the Weimar Republic.
Yes,
the left and the right were fighting each other, in the extreme left and the extreme right. The extreme right won out. Now, that could happen also. That's another possibility. That's why I say it might be the best thing right now if Trump, declares some kind of a martial law. Because it would be better to have martial law, to have troops patrolling the street. I personally trust the Army more than I haven't been a member of both military and law enforcement. I trust military far more than I trust law enforcement. The rank and file military I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the top generals who basically get to become generals by sticking their heads, where.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the rank and file military, the enlisted men, the mid-level officers, the people like that. I trust them far more than I trust the police in cases like this.
Well, we have a lot of military around here on Hawaii. We have the highest per capita density of military because it's an island, and I talk to them all the time. by and large, they're pretty much very serious about trying to preserve that Constitution and Bill of Rights. So, on that basis, I'm in agreement with you.
Oh, by the way, there was one more thing, too. I forgot that. I think we got a false flag there in California. I think it turns out now this guy's supposedly a veteran. Bet you he is a vet. I'll bet you he was on some kind of psychotropic drugs. They say he had PTSD. Very possibly he was put up to it, if he was by something like an MK Ultra type of thing. And also, I think they're exaggerating with it. They're trying to make a hero out of the cop who was in the bar, got killed. They say, he rushed into. I don't think he rushed into anything. I think he was probably drinking in a bar along with the rest of the people. And that just happened. But of course, the mainstream media, they want to, especially the fake news network, Fox News Network. I saw this at the gym while I was working out there on the TV, and they were making it look like the guy is a hero, barged in. That's not what I heard at the beginning. I have a feeling he was just in it. But, they are always trying to push the government's, the government's people as heroes and this and that, especially the police. And I have a feeling that this is probably what happened. But I do believe it's a very good possibility. It's a false flag, Mike. Very good possibility.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, the fact that he was not using an AR-15, my read of the situation is that the guy got totally screwed up by his military service. He may have been subject to all kinds of experimental drug treatments, which does happen. Remember Gulf War syndrome. He was definitely on PTSD. There had been several violent episodes. His own mother was afraid of him. And I would agree. In all probability, he was on some kind of prescription psychiatric medication, which we know can lead to episodes of violence. And I think this is a classic example of that.
But you don't think somebody just didn't put him up to it? You think he just... Well, actually, when you put somebody in that many drugs, it's almost like, sooner or later something's going to happen. It's just like you keep a bunch of hornets in your house. Sooner or later, one is going to sting you. You don't have to put them up to it. They're just going to do it. They're going to just sting. I got stung the other day by one in my couch. One of my dogs was digging in, trying to find. I said, "What's going on?" I put my hand in. Whop! I got stung by a hornet. Okay, it's the same thing. You put a bunch of hornets in your house. Sooner or later, one's going to sting you. You don't have to put them up to it. You don't have to train them. That's the way they are. That's what they do. And the same thing. You put enough drugs into people like that, and especially, they have combat experience and their heads are messed up anyway, and you put all these psychotropic drugs into them, sooner or later something's going to happen, So
yeah, and
you don't even have to.
They pour these drugs into the people because it's a big money maker, and then you use the controlled corporate media to hide the fact that these medications can cause violence from the public that you want to sell these drugs to, even though on many of them now, if you read the little contraindications, the warnings on the package insert, they now acknowledge that these drugs can lead to suicidal and violent tendencies. In fact, I've noticed even on the TV commercials, the very glitzy one, that fast voice at the end where they're saying this drug can do this and that, they're now starting to acknowledge they can lead to suicidal tendencies. Wonderful medications they're selling us here. Anyway, Mark, I'm going to let you go here. Thank you very much. And we're going to switch over here to Joe in Tennessee. Joe, thank you for waiting so patiently. What is on your mind?
Well, I have a couple things I wanted to bring up. One is I really don't agree with you that Trump is a weak leader. No weak leader would call himself a nationalist. I mean, that is a very bold thing for a president of the United States to say, knowing what kind of attacks he's going to get for it. The other thing is his whole presidency was all bold, from being a candidate to not putting up with the political correctness. He is not a weak leader. He's a very, very bold man. You might disagree with him, but that's a fact. But I wanted to talk about the election and what a great victory it was for Donald Trump. I mean, people talk about how they lost the House. Well, 45 Republicans, incumbents, didn't run. So that actually tilted the scale. If the 45 Republicans weren't timid, but were scared because of all the propaganda about the blue wave, then they probably would have won half those votes and Republicans would still have the House.
Yeah.
Now, anybody that Donald Trump ran for the Senate, I live in Tennessee, he was out here 4 or 5 times. He was in Missouri, Indiana, Florida. He was all over the place. And any place that Donald Trump won, except for West Virginia and Montana, went for the Republicans, which was incredible. So, and not only that, Ohio and Florida, the governorships, which are going to be very important in the next election. So I think this was a huge victory for Donald Trump, besides the fact that he changes Corker for Blackburn, right? That's a huge thing. Mm-hmm. McCain is gone. Flake is gone. All the only downside is they got
Joe, I hate to cut you off.
Coming in.
Joe, I hate to cut you off. We got to take a break for commercials. And thank you for the phone call. We'll be right back.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about Angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking Angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll-free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you one from Amazon.com. I just wanted you to know I saw my doctor and I laughed because he said, "I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it." I have been taking Extendivite. I had borderline high blood pressure, heart flutter, high cholesterol. I changed my diet and included Extendivite with an amazing turnaround for the better. A few months later, I had a doctor's appointment and took a stress test. I passed. No heart flutter. Blood pressure was perfect. My doctor even took me off my medicine. I thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. This stuff works, and I'm so grateful for Extendivite. Thank you, Justin G. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And they're just finishing up this news conference out in Thousand Oaks, California. Basically not saying a whole heck of a lot. We're still processing evidence. All right, we're going to go back to the phones here. Chris in Las Vegas, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, aloha, Michael, and thank you so much. I was stricken by Joel's comments previously, and I thought I might correct his misperception of Trump's statement in declaring himself as a nationalist and falling for the leftist lies of the Southern Poverty Liars Center, or Pedophile Liars Center, if you like that better, and the ADL, claiming that the only nationalist is the white nationalist, when in fact the Nationality Act of 1940, Immigration and Nationality Act, and Title 8 U.S.C. Section 1101, A22B specifically says that the term a person who, though not a citizen of the United States, owes permanent allegiance to the United States. You can also find this information on the Immigration and Naturalization so-called passport form, the Department of State manual, or Department of State Form 11, that we all pick up at the post offices, down in the warning box, and it says you must be either it doesn't say A, but it says you must be either a U.S. citizen or a non-citizen, small case, U.S. national. And that's an alternative status, going back to Downs versus Bedwell, pointing out that there are explicitly two particular political statuses that exist in America. And we see this foisted by Hillary Clinton and everybody else who want to claim themselves elite. But that second status comports with that of an ambassadorial, a consular, or diplomatic immunity status. And so I think Trump actually truly knows precisely what he's speaking of when he calls himself a nationalist, and I don't think he's implying white nationalists in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, because he's not an ignorant dupe like most unfortunate people who have been victimized by the so-called public free education system, which may be more costly than most of us cognize here in America.
Okay. Yes, I see your point. Yeah, in the current context of the debate between the globalists and the nationalists, that was the context in which Trump made his statement. That he wanted to basically put America first, and it had nothing to do with race or even all that much to do with politics. It was simply saying, I'm putting this country first. I'm not part of the globalist agenda. I'm a nationalist, and I say the same thing myself all the time, and I think that was the context that Trump was operating in. But again, while there is no doubt that Donald Trump can get up on a stage and rouse the audience and get them all going, from my point of view, so far, he's been a very weak leader. He does seem to be easily swayed, manipulated. It's known he's susceptible to flattery, and he's not actually getting things done that he promised he would do. Anyway, Chris, we got to take a break for station identification. Thank you very much for the phone call, and we will be right back. What?
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, the history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we are still watching the news talk about this tragic shooting out in Thousand Oaks, California, at this bar. Apparently, it was college night, and they had a bunch of students there. And so this former Marine, known to be suffering PTSD, walked into this bar with a .45 caliber Glock, with apparently a modified extended magazine, and just started picking people off. And it really is a horrible thing. But there's a point to be made here. California has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. They have a process that you have to go through to get a permit for a gun, which includes looking for negative indicators. And clearly it failed. So instead of this continuing focus on the tools used in these tragic shootings, I think it's time we start looking at the causes. Now, the TV news is saying they don't know the motive. They're still looking for a motive. I suspect the guy, because of his PTSD, was on prescription psychiatric medication. He had an adverse reaction. It is time to start looking at that connection. Because I think that there has been a significant rise in violence of all kinds, not just gun violence, but domestic violence, road rage, with the saturation of our culture with these dangerous medications. And as I said earlier, they're now admitting that these medications can lead to violent acts and suicide. So stop going after the guns, and let's find out what is driving people crazy. Because if they're saying they can't find a motive for this guy, it means his brain got fried on the medications. Okay, now do you remember Cesar Sayoc? He was the guy who has been arrested for mailing these PVC hoax pipe bombs to various Democrats, so the Democrats could start screaming, oh, we're the victims now. We're the victims. It's the Republicans who are violent, and it's the Republicans who are dangerous, which nobody was listening to anyway. But apparently, up in New York, documents have been filed in the federal court revealed that the FBI agent working this case cannot describe the so-called energetic material that the pipes were filled with, meaning there's no actual evidence that any of these so-called bombs actually contained explosives. Now, we know from one of the earliest reports to come on out that the pipes were filled with sulfur. Now, sulfur will burn slowly. It's used, for example, in matches, but it's not an explosive. It won't detonate. This was all a hoax. It was a PR hoax. And they're going to send this guy off to some club fed where he's not going to have to worry about being homeless anymore. But it was a PR stunt. Okay, let's talk about the conflict zones. There are certainly enough of them. As you know, there is this gigantic military exercise over in Norway. And apparently they've already had a whoopsie. One of its warships collided with a tanker in a fjord. And if you click on that story, there's actually a video of this ship. It looks like a Ticonderoga class. Arleigh Burke, just heeling over from the collision. And they had to basically evacuate the entire crew from the warship. Apparently 8 people were injured. And the warship had been returning from the NATO military exercises. The tanker, the Sola TS, was slightly damaged, but did not spill any oil. Okay, let's take another phone call. Peter in Dallas, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Michael. Michael, I used to work in an alternative school. I dealt with a lot of troubled kids. And basically, my conclusion was kids who didn't grow up with a caring adult in their lives were pretty much shot. It's pretty tough to become a caring human being unless you were cared for as you grew up. So what I think. So my suggestion. I just want to make a suggestion to everyone. I think if you want to, I just become aware of how important mothers are or parents are to communicating or continuing the civilization on to the next generation. They teach children how to be caring individuals, and without that, civilization comes to an end. So whenever I see a mother, more and more, I thank her for taking on the job, and I let her know how important it is for me to have her kids around when I get old, and need somebody to take care of me in the nursing home, and that it's been someone who's been raised as a caring individual. So I just encourage everyone as something to do to help the civilization to stay together, to thank mothers for taking on the job, or parents for that matter for taking on the job.
What is the context for this discussion? Okay.
The context is we're always talking about a civilization that's going downhill. And what can you do about it? You can just thank mothers and parents for taking on that job. It's something you can do. I know you're probably talking about something else right now, but I don't know when is the right time to bring this matter up. I'm sure you're talking about something else.
Okay, well, basically, one of the downsides we had of the feminist revolution of the 1990s was that women were not just told it was okay to leave the home and go work. It became a societal priority. And women who wanted to stay at home and be mothers and be housewives were denigrated and insulted and looked down on. And so we have, in fact, had a generation that was raised where their parents are the TV set and pop culture stars. And it's definitely had a negative effect. But in the context of the California shooting, we're definitely seeing indications these medications are causing serious problems. And because pharmaceutical companies have well-paid lobbyists, this issue is not being looked at. Congress actually did look. They had hearings onto the link between prescription antidepressants and acts of violence, but in the end, they didn't do anything. That's how dominated by money our Congress has become.
My experience at the alternative school was the difference between a healthy kid and one that's broken is whether or not there was a caring adult in his life. Big difference. You recognize it right off the bat. So, I agree with you in the prescription drug thing but I think we really need to celebrate parents, celebrate mothers, celebrate fathers who are doing a great job. And we need to make sure that, society starts to put that institution at a high, celebrate it. And
well, we have Mother's Day and we have Father's Day and, the family holidays. But again, we've always had mothers, we've always had fathers, we've had young people who were raised with complete homes that did okay, some didn't do okay. We've had people who were raised in broken homes, and some did okay and some didn't do okay. But again, with the exploding violence that seemingly makes no sense at all over the last several years, I do think we need to look at another direction. Anyway, thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to let you go and get on back here to the news. I think there's an issue. I think it needs to be looked at. And again, getting on back here to the Thousand Oak shooters, apparently there was an interaction between this shooter, David Long, and apparently back in April, he had an interaction with the police following a domestic incident with his mother at the home, and the police didn't feel he warranted a psych hold. So that whole system basically just failed. And what are the Democrats going to do? Oh, we got to take the guns away from all Americans. Let's take the guns are bad. It's all the fault of the guns. Okay, let's see. I got that one. Okay, so we're talking about the conflict zones. We're talking about what's going on over with this huge Cold War exercise on Norwegian soil. And apparently, it's causing a lot of problems for the people who live there. And apparently, there have been over 400 complaints filed with the Norwegian Armed Forces during this Joint Trident 2018. And apparently, the issues are land damaged by tracks and piles of human excrement, foreign soldiers relieving themselves near kindergarten, schools, and sports facilities. Now, that strikes me as very strange, not to mention unsanitary. When I was in the Boy Scouts, one of the first things we learned how to do on a camp out was how to construct a latrine, so that when you moved on, there would be no trace left. Because you dig this trench, you do what you're going to do while you're camped out there, and when you break the camp, you just fill it all in. I mean, for one thing, if you're marching across a field and you're leaving trash and poop in your wake, it makes it very easy for the enemy to track you and follow you and start taking shots at you. So I don't know what is going on over there. You're going to love this one. As you know, the 7th Fleet has all of these scandals going on, ship rammings, bribery, and so forth. They got a new one now. Over on the USS Ronald Reagan, 14 sailors in the nuclear reactor department are facing disciplinary action for using and distributing LSD. Now, 10 of the sailors have already been disciplined on LSD-related charges. 2 sailors are in more serious trouble and are heading for a full-on court-martial for using, possessing, and distributing the LSD, and the Navy is looking at possibly charging 3 others as well. But the Navy is assuring us that the reactors remain absolutely safe and there was never any danger. Sorry, I am not buying that one. Knowing a little bit about how reactors work, yeah, somebody who's on a hallucinogen could very easily flip a few switches and push a few buttons and melt the reactor out through the bottom of the Reagan's hull. Major. Boy, the military just doesn't measure up to what they used to be. The United States is not ready to take on a military peer like Russia and China in a war right now. Okay, so moving right along here. Over in Ukraine, Kiev is preparing a chemical weapons attack, apparently on the border with Donbass, and they're concentrating near the line of contact with infantry combat vehicles and heavy mortars. Now, this is being reported by the Russian envoy to the negotiations in Minsk, Boris Gryzlov. And what they're looking at here, of course, chemical weapons violations. But according to this Gryzlov, the Ukrainian military continues to register accurate shots, not only with small arms, but also with 82 and 120 millimeter caliber mortars and infantry combat vehicles. So they're definitely shooting up the place here. The United States has decided to hit Russia with more sanctions, and they've sanctioned 9 Russian entities and 3 individuals over the fact that Russia stole Crimea, which is, of course, a lie. That's not what happened. But the United States is imposing these new sanctions against 3 Russian individuals and 9 entities that are operating inside Crimea itself. And this was announced by the U.S. Special Representative for Ukraine negotiations, Kurt Volker. The sanctions are on 3 individuals and 9 entities that are supporting Russia's attempts to integrate the Crimean region of Ukraine through private investment and private projects. Yeah, that's what countries do. And if Crimea was still part of Ukraine, I'm sure the United States would be doing exactly the same thing. And for one last time, no, Russia did not steal Crimea. Crimea held a referendum to break away from Ukraine following the U.S.-backed coup d'etat against Yanukovych and the installation of President Chocolate as the puppet ruler. Then Crimea held a second referendum to merge with the Russian republics, and that's exactly what happened. And it's perfectly reasonable that Russia would be putting investment into Crimea. They've certainly built that really nice bridge to connect Crimea directly to the Russian mainland. And so basically the United States is now setting its sanctions policy, saying nobody can do business anywhere in the world but us. You know, you will buy our military weapons, you will do business with us, we'll do the reconstruction. Anybody else tries to cut in on our action, we're going to hit them with sanctions. They're sounding more and more like the mafia. That's a nice country you got there. It'd be a terrible shame if something happened to it. Over in Yemen, the U.S.-backed troops have now taken control of the main road to Hodeidah port. And so at this point, it seems to only be a matter of time before Saudi and U.S. forces have control of Hodeidah and basically crank up the starvation blockade. Right now, the Yemenis are using snipers trying to keep the ground troops at bay, but they are definitely fighting a losing action. Now, over in Saudi Arabia, they have announced they're going to pay financial compensation to the family and the fiancé of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi, who was murdered inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul by a Saudi hit squad on October 2nd. So here, we're going to give you a bunch of money, and that should make you happy, and everything should be all better. I don't think so, but the money will help. And basically saying there's no more information, their investigation hasn't found anything. There are now suspicions that at least part of Khashoggi's body was literally dissolved in acid to get rid of the evidence. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. Okay, tensions with China are heating up over the South China Sea and Taiwan. And Russia Today ran this article saying, you know, are we looking at China being the flashpoint for World War III? Everybody seems to agree World War III is on its way. It's just a question of where. I kind of wonder what the Las Vegas bookies are saying about that right now. We're going to take a break for commercials. We will be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Attention RBN listeners. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, founder of Front Sight Firearms Training, and Fate have come together to allow RBN to run another fundraiser till the end of the year. We didn't really expect this opportunity, but thankfully it's here and running as you hear this. We've set a goal of 500 donations by the end of the year, which averages around 6 per day, 7 days a week. When you realize all the folks listening to RBN all hours of the day and night, we think our goal is realistic and extremely critical to keep RBN on the air. If everybody listening will seriously assess their ability with firearms and then take advantage of this opportunity, we feel our goal is very conservative. Please take the time to look over Front Sight's website to get an idea of an amazing facility and the world-class training that's going on there. If this interests you, you likely will have like-minded friends that would like to know. If for some reason some listeners are not personally interested, consider sons and daughters, close friends, nieces or nephews, top valued employees, inform club members, share the opportunity with police and fire departments. It's not too early to plan Christmas presents for special people. This fundraiser has come at an extremely critical time for RBN because the dire need for equipment upgrades. We're running on the spare tire currently with no money to fix a flat, and the fuel gauge is bouncing on E. This is one of the most valuable ways you can help RBN financially because you get Commander lifetime membership value that is 50 times your donation and can be passed on forever. How many times during life do you get to leave a legacy? See more details and contact info on our webpage, republicbroadcasting.org, and thank you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're still looking at what's going on out at Thousand Oaks. And again, California has got some of the strictest gun laws in the country. And it all failed. It all failed because the focus is on the guns rather than what tripped this guy off. And it's known he had PTSD. And after he was done shooting up this bar, he shot himself. It's a classic pattern that we have seen in these prescription psychiatric drug-induced issues. So I'm looking through stories, basically trying to get a confirmation that he was on medication for his PTSD. But I would say it's almost a certainty that he was. All righty, getting on back to the news here. We were talking before the commercial about the ramping up of tensions with China over the South China Sea and the Taiwan question. And obviously in the media furor over the midterm elections, China kind of dropped off the screen, as it were. But the reality is the U.S. and China, they're on a collision path, both with the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait. And in the last 2 months, the U.S. military has flown B-52 nuclear-capable bombers over these islands and carried out the so-called freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea, all of which are intended to be and are seen as provocations. There have been instances of U.S. warships sailing through the Taiwan Strait in support of Taiwan, which China considers to be part of the Chinese nation. Now, what's really interesting is the U.S. believes it should have freedom to navigate in the South China Sea, yet gets really upset when Iranian ships expect the same kind of freedom in the Persian Gulf. And we've seen that before. Oh, the Iranians there in the Persian Gulf, they must be up to something bad. There is a huge amount of hypocrisy coming out of the U.S. government here. Okay, Newt Gingrich is on the air right now on Fox and saying that really the public wants the government to get back to work on taking care of the nation, and they are not on board with a Democratic House of Representatives just spending all of its time with more investigations into the White House, into Donald Trump. And they're already talking about 2020. They're already talking about 2020 and how they need to get Donald Trump out because they don't have somebody they can run against him. Okay, over in North Korea, it looks like Kim Jong-un's patience is about run out, and North Korea is getting very angry with the United States. The talks are deadlocked, and tensions between the two countries are on the rise. And what it all comes down to is the fact that Kim Jong-un, following his meeting with Donald Trump, he made several gestures, including shutting down the nuclear test site, tearing down one of the rocket test stands, returning the remains of U.S. soldiers killed at the start of the Korean War. And then he sat back and waited for something to come back from the U.S., and it did not happen. And that's the deadlock. And Kim Jong-un has run out of patience, and he's saying, look, if you're not going to come to the table and back off the military exercises and back off at least some of the sanctions, then the deal is off, and we're going to go back to making nuclear weapons. If I were Kim Jong-un, I would be on that phone to Moon Jae-in and say, let's wrap up this reunification deal right now. Let's just wrap it up. Get it going here. All right, so let's talk about the economic news here, because there is an elephant in the room, and no, I'm not talking about the Democrats, or the Republicans, rather. It's the student loan debt, which is just growing and growing and growing. And basically, college, which in my day was about education and exploring new ideas, has been turned into a racket, both because it's a liberal indoctrination center, and it's very expensive. The cost of college has soared way out of pace with the rate of inflation. Sources of financial aid have been cut off, forcing students to take out these student loans, which they take out because they're being told after graduation, you'll be in a high-paying job and you can pay off this loan in about 5 years. And of course, they graduate and find out that's not going to happen. And nobody's dealing with it. It's still going on, and it's getting worse. We'll be right back after these few words.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, and we're talking about the economic news. And let's see here. The markets did not really have a great day. I mean, the Dow just barely squeaked back into the green. S&P and NASDAQ are down. We know there's a lot of manipulation going on in the stock market, and we understand, obviously, that as the Federal Reserve raises the prime rate, that makes the cost of money with which to play in the market much more expensive, and that discourages a lot of people. So there is definitely a link between the two. Now, Donald Trump is out there saying the Federal Reserve is the greatest threat to the U.S. economy, and he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. So Trump did this interview with the Wall Street Journal, and he singled out the Federal Reserve and its chairman, Jerome Powell, as the biggest threats to U.S. economic growth. And basically said that every time we, meaning the Trump administration, do something great, he ups the interest rates. Well, that's to be expected. The Federal Reserve is a privately owned bank, and they're in existence to make money for their stockholders. So every time the economy is going to start on an uptick, yeah, they're going to raise the rates and harvest off that profit. That's how it works. under private central banking. Now, had we stayed with the system that this country was founded on, for one thing, we wouldn't have this $21 trillion national debt. We'd have money that was actually intrinsically worth something, and the economy would be running more or less smoothly. So, you know, when they talk about growth, something you need to understand, when they talk about growth in the economy, what they're talking about is an increase in the total aggregate debt. They don't call it that because they want to use the word the growth, because that sounds positive, like it's a good thing. The economy is growing. Doesn't that sound great? Heck yeah, that sounds wonderful. No, what they're talking about is you, the American people, are being plunged further and further into debt. That's what they mean when they say the economy is growing. Okay, now with regard to the trade war with China and the tariffs on the soybeans, China has just decided, well, yeah, we're not going to import soybeans from the United States anymore. And Russia has stepped on in. They're going to export their soybeans to China. And U.S. soybean farmers are going to be left with soybeans just sitting in the fields or sitting in warehouses, rotting away. So apparently, Russia is looking to partially replace the United States, not only as the leading exporter of soybeans to China, but they're looking at other agricultural goods, including pork, rice, poultry, fish, as well as developing joint logistics projects. It's like I've been saying all along, with all these sanctions and tariffs and everything else, the global economic order is reforming itself, reconfiguring itself around the United States and disconnecting. Now, yesterday we were talking about how Iran's oil tankers, in order to try and evade U.S. sanctions, have turned off their trackers. Well, the United States State Department today is warning nations, saying, do not allow Iran shipping vessels into your territorial waters and ports. You know, we'll do bad things to you. If Iranian tankers come into your ports or transit through your waterways, this comes at great risk. It's a nice waterway you got there. Be a shame if something bad happened to it. You see the thinking that's going on inside the government. They really are thinking and acting and sounding like organized crime. Okay, well, as you know, this is the month of November, and at the end of the month, we celebrate Thanksgiving, even though the original Thanksgiving was actually a little bit earlier in the year at harvest time. The TSA, which is probably the second most hated federal agency, is predicting that this year's Thanksgiving travel will be unprecedented. They're expecting the busiest season on record. Thanksgiving is always a travel zoo. This is usually when families get together for the entire year, either Thanksgiving or Christmas. And so just take that into account when you're making your travel plans. And be safe. Just try and be safe. Now, Claire and I here in Hawaii, we can't get back to the mainland for either Thanksgiving or Christmas, but we do have FaceTime, which we really do like. And we call the family like every week. That's cool. That's fun. Get to look at the little kids growing up here. Over in Great Britain, Theresa May is imposing a new layer of secrecy on the Brexit legal advice. And so basically the convention that legal advice to the cabinet is never published is enforced by the ministerial code. The ban has not halted successive demands for greater political openness. So May's decision to prevent cabinet ministers from seeing the full text of the Brexit guidance provided by the Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, appears, however, to introduce an additional restriction on the circulation of information at the highest levels of governments. Translation, she has got something to hide. All right, we're going to take a phone call here from Mark in New York. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey there, Mike. Aloha. Thank you for taking my call. I had woke up this morning hearing the news about Costa and what happened. I saw him yesterday. I was really uncomfortable seeing the interaction. The visual of it was really bad. But I wanted to call and talk about boundaries and why maybe he should be suspended indefinitely. And as a little humorous thing, it reminded me, seeing it when I woke up too, when I was working in New York City, Rick Lazio came on the elevator with me, and I was thinking maybe I was stuck on the elevator in this tight space with him, and I was thinking maybe I should say something funny. But I thought to myself, better keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
But, that reminded me about personal space and Hillary. And then I was just thinking about how this guy on the left, the way he was kind of brazen, he reminded me of Alex Jones, this Costa. And Alex Jones has been berated. I think he just attacked or he touched Rubio recently, and shortly after that, or maybe just around that time, they started banning him. And then this morning on the radio, the news guys, they're saying, oh, his mic. Now, if you walk, I assume he's a guest. And they kept saying they took his mic. I'm thinking that, no, it's their mic. He's a guest. I guess maybe the White House and the government does belong to the people. But he's there as to make questions, not like an Alex Jones thing, because that's something that Jones would do in my experience with him. And Jones, I've never seen or heard him attack a woman or except Nancy Pelosi, I guess.
Yeah.
But, to manhandle a woman and grab that mic, it was a terrible visual. And, again, like if you go into a karaoke bar where you borrow a mic, if you grab a mic in a bar like that, the bouncer's going to pounce on you. But anyway, it was uncomfortable. And the other thing, again, it was boundaries. I was listening to this psychologist, Dr. Paul Dobransky, and he's like a men's movement guy. And he's in New York, and he has a thing called Mind OS that I've read a long time ago. But he talks about boundaries, that to be like a mature adult in anything, you got to set boundaries. You got to have some psychological boundaries where you open doors and close doors. And if somebody mistreats you wrong or something, it's perfectly natural and normal to say no. You set a boundary. And I think there was a boundary crossed with Costa, and he simply said no. And that's my argument for suspending him indefinitely, because this guy is pulling crap, and they should just cut him off. And it's perfectly natural. I think he's in his right, because he's got to set boundaries for these guys that are just like this high school, drinking lot or something, where they're all just like getting at him. And I thought he started calmly. He went through the facts, Trump, and then all of a sudden they just opened up. And then you see this thing where all of a sudden he's like, oh, here we go. And they start ripping him. And then they were bringing up that racist question, where I think he's right, where if you ask a racist question, you are a racist too. Your thinking is racist too.
Yes.
So I think he was right for saying that. And again, and then the other things I heard complained, I get a lot about people saying that he's a dope. Trump is a dope. He's stupid. He's a bull. And I always say online, well, evidently he's smarter than you, right? It's armchair guys working their jobs. Trump somehow made it to the presidency, wiped the floor clean with umpteen paid for GOP guys and so on, and Hillary Clinton, definitely.
Yes.
And one other thing, if I may, was, back when in 2016, and I bring this up because I hear it almost every week, that when I wanted to, I wanted to go down to the inauguration, but the 2 weeks before that, every day on the radio, 3 times an hour, they'd say, oh, there's going to be Antifa, there's going to be increased police presence.
Yep.
They're protesting outside his hotel, and I'm thinking, I wouldn't bring a family down there. Who's going to bring a family take a day off and drive down there, stay at Trump Hotel, and want to get involved and risk getting your kids injured or getting yourself injured, walking out of the hotel with all that Antifa stuff. And I still hear it. Oh, he lied about how many people showed up. I think there was influence in the media to prevent people to.
Oh yeah, they definitely did not want it to look like he had a lot of people showing up. I mean, they were trying to scare people away from all of his rallies during the 2016 campaign. Yeah, I mean, the media is clearly hand in glove with the liberal establishment. And again, on this particular issue with Acosta, I'm firmly on Trump's side. You know, he's the president. That's the White House press room. And yeah, if somebody's behaving rudely, yeah, pull the plug, pull their press credentials, and, you know, I'm sure CNN will find something else for him to do.
And there's a boundary there set. There's a boundary where he put his foot in the line and said it. And he asked him 3 times. And that I thought he was a little bit abusive to this woman, because she had to turn around real quick. She looks like she almost broke her neck, turning around to Trump, turning back to the guy, turning around again, wondering what to do. And he's like, no. He kept saying. And I thought that was the rudest thing I've ever seen displayed in that. All right.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hunt down that video because I didn't actually see the exchange, but
it's really bad.
Yeah, I want to hunt that
my
down.
mouth was screaming. I said, how can you get away with that with nobody's, especially the way they're always on Alex Jones about things like that. You'll see it. It looked very uncomfortable. And you can see how it kind of escalates. He starts off, he's like, I'll open up the questions. And there are a lot of people in the room. So I understand when he came down, like, I'd like to challenge you to this. And it didn't seem like the appropriate time. And a lot of the questions just repeat. Not anything new that, and also kind of, you know, for that right there in that room at that time, they kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, well, they're always pushing that same agenda, you know, and, you know, is it racist for Trump to close the borders? They're just trying to find something negative that they can turn into a news story.
And may I inject too? I wanted to call and talk about something like, I thought about, like, all the way out to the planets have borders or boundaries, right? It's called space. They're billions of years away. All the way down to the little cell in our bodies.
Yes.
Every little cell has this intelligent thing, has a boundary. It's a natural, to me, it seems it's a natural, universal thing that you have to, the way things have evolved over time.
Yes.
That you have to have some kind of boundaries.
Well, you have to have a border that protects you. That's what a cell membrane is. It's protecting the inner workings of the cell from something that's outside. That's what our skin is doing as well. Yeah, it's part of nature. And nations have borders to protect themselves from invasion or contagion or things like that. This idea of having no borders at all makes about as much sense as a building without any fire doors or a ship without any watertight hatches. You know, it's a recipe for disaster.
Unnatural. Dare I say it? Because they're saying, you know, the left is saying, oh, how can you? It's unnatural. You know, it is unnatural to leave your borders or boundaries open for the Acostas of the universe to come in and start, you know, manhandling you, whatever. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the video right now, and I'm going to put it up on the website next commercial break. Anything else, Mark?
No, there are, but I don't have it organized. Just I said the inauguration, and that was it. The illegal voting, you already covered that. Let me see. Let's flip this over. There was no, that's it.
Okay.
Voting. Oh, maybe this.
All right.
One guy. If you want, real quick. This electoral voting, when the state wins, and it just all goes to one guy. Would you think it would make a difference if they went back where they split it up? Say, like down in Florida, where it's like all these electors are out in California, because it looks like to me they're red districts there. Would that vote help the candidate instead of like giving it all to one?
Well, different states have different rules. In some states, it's winner takes all. And in other states, the electors are divided up based on what portion of the votes they had.
And so am I missing something in that the guy says not fully represented when they all get the votes? When the state goes to one guy, he feels like his vote isn't getting counted.
Well, again, there are a lot of people who have different opinions over the Electoral College itself. We saw how it got hijacked in 2016 with the so-called superdelegates, and there are convincing arguments why it should be done away with, or at least seriously changed to protect the power and authority of these smaller states and not let New York and California choose everything. Anyway, we got to take a break for commercials. Thank you, Mark. We're going to let you go.
Mike.
We'll be back soon with another phone call after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, distract yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far 5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And I put up that video about the exchange between Trump and Acosta, so you can take a look at it and you know what happened with the staffer who tried to take the microphone. And I've got an update on that story about the Norwegian warship that got hit by a tanker. Apparently, it is in danger of actually sinking, which is going to be an expensive whoopsie there. Trey Gowdy, of course, is now the outgoing House Oversight Committee chairman, because the Democrats are now in charge of the House of Representatives, and they're going to want all these investigations to go away. But he's saying basically Mueller's going to come up blank. He's going to just come up completely blank. Okay, now let's see. Here's a bizarre story. This is coming out of Government Slaves, saying that ex-New Jersey Governor Christie is on the short list to be the next U.S. Attorney General. Frankly, that's a bad choice. I think leave Whitaker there. I think you ought to leave Whitaker there. So, but again, he has to get through confirmation, and Trump is playing politics here. All right, getting on back to Great Britain. We were talking about Brexit. We're talking about the government secrecy here. Interestingly enough, as the open borders have gone on for all these years, living conditions all across Europe and Great Britain have deteriorated. And it's reached a point where some of the people who migrated to Europe and Great Britain are now returning home, because conditions are now worse in Europe and Great Britain than what they left behind. And apparently there's this family of a 21-year-old Romanian who was stabbed to death just 3 weeks after moving to Great Britain. They're returning home to escape London's epidemic of violence. It's become a very, very violent place. So thank you, open border people. When you import the third world into your country, you import third world problems. And that's exactly what has happened here. Okay, Donald Trump has basically neutered the Obamacare birth control coverage mandate, and he's tightening the regulations on all the plans covering abortion. And I think his thinking is quite simple. Pregnancy is not an illness. So why should insurance cover it? If you want to have a sex life, pay for your birth control. It's not that expensive. And if you do get pregnant, well, that's a lifestyle choice. It's not an illness. All right, we're going to take a break here for station identification. We'll be back with hour number 3 after these few words.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth. What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And they're still going on about the Florida recount. And I guess they're going ahead with the recount for both the Senate and the governor's races. So it's 2000 all over again. It's 2000 all over again. What a circus this has all become. Okay, so as you know, Alex Baldwin got arrested recently for punching somebody in an argument over a parking space. Now, the man has a temper. I worked with him very briefly during my time in Hollywood, and there's no secret about it. He's got a temper. But he did have this argument over the parking space, and he did punch somebody out. Now, this is probably unconnected with it, but apparently Alec Baldwin has a talk show, which airs Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on ABC. And apparently the ratings have been terrible. So ABC is trying to move him to a new time slot on Saturdays at 10 p.m. They're going to do repeat episodes of Shark Tank on that Sunday night slot. Basically, that Saturday night slot means they're not expecting him to get any more viewers because people tend to be out at Saturday night. They're home on Sunday night, resting up for work on Monday. Saturday night, they're out sowing their wild oats, and then Sunday morning, they go to church and pray for a crop failure. But apparently, Alec Baldwin's show did not do well, and they're going to air the remaining unaired episodes, but they're not making any new episodes, so it's heading for the dustbin. Okay, we have a caller on the line. W from Texas, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Hello? W, are you there?
I wanted to make a comment on the Attorney General.
Okay, the sound is cutting
Hello?
in. The sound is cutting in and out. I'm having trouble hearing you.
I wanted to make a comment on the Attorney General pick.
Okay.
And I was just going to say my selection would be Judge Napolitano. I think it's Andrew Napolitano. And the reason why I say that is because he seems to be always constitutional, no matter who was in office. When Bush was in office, he was always talking about, the Fourth Amendment and everything. And then when Obama was in there, he was the same way. He didn't switch up his core principles just based on who was in office. So I think he would be a great choice for.
I would love to see him in there. I'd like to see Larry Klayman in there. I'd like to see Tom Fitton in there. If this story is accurate, that Trump is looking at ex-New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, I mean,
terrible choice.
Terrible choice. I mean, the guy has a long history of shenanigans, to put it politely. And I don't think he would be an effective attorney general. I think he'd get right on in there. And somebody would say, look, you're not going to look at the email server. You're not going to look at the Clinton Foundation. You're not going to look at any of this stuff. And Christie would say, yeah, okay, sure.
Yep, exactly. That was it. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go, and the phone lines are open now. Let's see. Somebody just wrote on in and said the story about Ginsburg retiring in January may be fake news. There's a lot of it out there, and I'll have to check that out. And they are just basically, oh yeah, here is right there. All right, I'll look at that next commercial break. Okay, so the government of Great Britain wants to ban the term fake news. And they want to mandate basically specific phrases like disinformation and misinformation. And of course, it will be up to the government of Great Britain to apply those labels to everything on the internet to basically further the censorship. So, yeah, they're cracking down on the internet, and they're cracking down on the peer-to-peer. We need to start going back to using mailing lists, but we'll find a way. The Soviet citizens lived under one of the most repressive governments in history, and they got their communications out using just fax machines. If we have to, we'll do exactly the same thing. Okay, so we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. And getting on back to political correctness, and I keep wanting to wake up one day and see that all this nonsense is gone, that common sense has returned. But apparently there is this retired individual who is 69 years old, but he self-identifies as a 45-year-old, and he's going to court to have his legal age reduced to 45 so he can attract more women on Tinder. Well, that's not going to happen without a lot of plastic surgery. But I mean, that's how bizarre we've gotten. You can self-identify as whatever you want. I can self-identify as a 20-year-old. I can self-identify as a wealthy talk show radio host. So I demand you send me money. Dogs can identify as cats. Cats can identify as monkeys. I mean, it really is out of control. It's pretty ridiculous here. Now, this next story is kind of interesting. And apparently, there's this situation where there was a lawsuit, actually a case involving child pornography, or the accusation was child pornography. But it's kind of hard to say what exactly went wrong, because there was this 30-something man who was having a relationship with a teenage sex partner. And I don't know what the age of consent was in the state. I'm not seeing anything in the story about statutory rape. But apparently she took naked photos of herself and sent them to him. Nobody else saw them. The only people who saw the picture was this guy and the girl, and of course the federal agents who were snooping around on the Google Cloud, looking for this sort of thing. And so we had a case here where the Judge Stephen R. Underhill in Connecticut basically instructed the jury about their rights of jury nullification. And that is a very rare occurrence. Normally judges and certainly prosecutors don't want you to understand how much power and authority you have when you sit on a jury. You're actually the highest authority in that courtroom. You are there to prevent overzealous prosecution or the misapplication of laws, or to basically just say this law is bad in the first place. And you don't have to do what the judge and prosecutor tell you to do. If you honestly, sitting on a jury, feel the law has been misapplied, you can say, no, I'm voting to acquit. And here we had this Judge Underhill literally telling the jury in this case, you do have the authority to just throw this thing out, because it was just the guy and the teenage girlfriend, and that's it. It wasn't like he was actually putting this out on social media to hundreds of people or selling it to other perverts out there. This is clearly a case of overzealous prosecution, and apparently the jury agreed with the judge. So one of these little notebooks that is floating around, the Citizens Rule Book, and you should get one if you don't already have one, and it includes the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and more importantly, a handbook for jurors, which tells you what you can and cannot do sitting on a jury. And most people are going to be surprised to find out the jury is the highest authority in that courtroom. They can overrule the judge. They can overrule the prosecutor. They can ignore bad law. That's what they're there for. All right, let's talk about computers here. And apparently Windows 10 has yet another issue, and apparently this latest bug breaks the file associations. Now, a file association means that when you click on a file like a PDF, it will open up the correct application to look at that file, like Adobe Reader or something like that. But apparently, the latest bug on Windows 10, those all get messed up. So when you click on a PDF file, it tries to open it, for example, in the Paintbox program, which is not going to work. I think they've let this stuff get too complicated. They can't maintain it anymore. They can't manage it anymore, or they just don't want to spend the money on it. Alrighty. Okay. Apparently, last week, an unknown hacker or group of hackers successfully targeted a cryptocurrency exchange in order to steal bitcoins by compromising the web analytics service it was using. This was all spotted by ESET researcher Matthew Fowle, and he spotted this malicious JavaScript code on up to 700,000 websites that were bundled with the traffic tracking code from the leading web analytics platform StatCounter. So somebody got into StatCounter and altered their code, and people who were bringing StatCounter onto their web pages to count their traffic brought in the bad JavaScript. And the code was designed to basically target customers of the Gate.io cryptocurrency exchange. Cybercrime is definitely out of control. HSBC is confirming they have had another data breach, and basically the perpetrators accessed information including account numbers and balances, statements, transaction histories, and payee details, along with the user names, addresses, and dates of birth. This all happened back in October, but the BBC is reporting HSBC believes that fewer than 1% of their American clients were affected, and they're already in contact with those thought to have been exposed. You know, as long as the NSA is sitting there not catching terrorists, and as long as they're tracking all the data in the world, why aren't they going after these cyber criminals? Of course, Kaspersky Lab thinks that at least one of the known hacker collectives, the Equation Group, actually is the NSA. Maybe that's what the NSA is doing. Maybe they're the hub of all the crypto crime in America. So, anyway, over at NPR, not that I listen to them anymore because they are so liberal. As you know, there's a tendency right now to bash computer games for all kinds of things, poor posture in children, erosion of social skills. There's certainly merit to both of those. But NPR came on out basically saying that computer games are being used to recruit children into right-wing Nazi extremist groups. And what proof did they have of this? Well, they don't, but to them it's just so self-evident and obvious. So we're all coming apart here. Okay, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has now rejected a request to attend an international fake news consortium. And these 5 countries are getting together, demanding Zuckerberg testify about the rising threat of fake news on his social media platform, meaning they're talking about Facebook itself. And Zuckerberg basically doesn't want the attention. So basically sent a letter saying it's not possible to attend. The meeting is to be held on November 27th, headed by the United Kingdom, Argentina, Australia, Canada, and Ireland also participating. So the big issue here, of course, is who gets to decide what is fake news. And right now, these corporate media titans, if you will, icons, they're taking that authority to themselves. Will decide what's fake news or not. Anything bad about Hillary Clinton, oh, that's got to be fake news. Anything good about Donald Trump, oh, that's got to be fake news. We're heading into 1984. Or do you remember this TV series was called The Outer Limits back in, I think it was the 60s. It was very popular. And the show always began with what was called the control voice. You know, for the next 30 minutes, we will control all you see and hear. Well, that's the message we're getting from people like Zuckerberg. You know, we will control what you read. We will not let you see things that might get you thinking bad thoughts about certain celebrities, certain products, or the government here. Okay. Apparently, back in 2013, there was a hack of Belgacom. And according to this article in Sputnik, apparently Britain has been unwilling to launch a thorough investigation. And IT specialists are saying this really is turning into an international scandal. Now, Belgacom is an EU member state-owned telecommunications company. It's been targeted for monitoring and hacking by GCHQ. And so the thinking is that the hack job did come from GCHQ, and this is the reason why Great Britain does not want to investigate. And as I said earlier, maybe the reason the United States government isn't investigating cybercrime in this country is it's coming from some segment of the U.S. government. So it is a scandal. It is a scandal. Okay, everyone thinks robots are cool. But they can make mistakes here. And there is this story that came out of the Daily Mail in Great Britain. Apparently, they were using this robot surgeon on this pioneering open heart surgery. And something went catastrophically wrong. The robot surgeon spiraled out of control. It hit the nurse and killed the patient, the father of 3. And at one point, one of the assisting medics had his arms knocked by the robot, which was being used to repair retired music teacher and conductor Stephen Pettit's heart valve. And apparently communications between the lead surgeon, Sukumaran Nair, and his assisting surgeon Thasipile was difficult because of the poor sound quality coming from the robot console being operated by Nair. Apparently, the robot was being operated remotely. Put the surgeon back in the room here. This is really kind of silly. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials, and we will be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read a few from Amazon.com. Dr. Sam Serino reviewed the Extendivite product. Good ingredients, feeling much better since taking product. It seems that the tablets work well. Once again, thank you for your product. My acid reflux is really improved thanks to the Extendivite. Together with my thumb joints, the pain is gone and I'm able to grip things much better. My friend has peripheral arterial disorder and their lower legs were hurting in a red color, but thankfully, there has been a significant improvement. Kind regards, Janice. My husband feels a big difference using Extendivite. Thank you. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. I'm looking at the Fox News feed, and the focus now is on 2020. Who's going to run against Donald Trump? Really, we have just become saturated with politics and the circus of politics. I mean, there are other things in life besides the elections. And I, for one, really think the media needs to pull back on all of this. Of course, I understand that they're looking for something they can report on that isn't the deteriorating situation in Syria or what's going on in Yemen. So, yeah, they're just trying to basically use politics to commoditize us all. Okay, getting on back to tech news here. Interesting little article, and this sort of dovetails with what we reported the other day about Apple pulling back on their orders for the low-end iPhone X, the XR, the inexpensive, meaning $800 smartphone. And this article, which is out in the Daily Mail, is saying, have we reached peak smartphone? And they're saying, excuse me, I've got the hiccups here again. Okay. So they're saying sales figures are suggesting that the market for these gadgets has hit a recession. And that's definitely accurate. Part of the problem is the market is saturated. Pretty much everybody who would want a smartphone already has one. And the new smartphones coming out, they're a lot more expensive. They're not significantly improved over the last one. I know the big gizmo for the iPhone X was the facial reading system, which can be used for security and can also be used to make animated emojis that sort of kind of maybe look like you if you squint real hard. That's not worth $1,000. So we're ready for something new. And again, in this economy, people just, they can't be convinced to get the new and improved version just to make a fashion statement. Okay, Iraq is now demanding the return of a 3,000-year-old Assyrian artifact up for auction at Christie's in New York. And apparently, it actually went under the hammer on Tuesday. This is an outdated article. But apparently, this was one of the items that was plundered from Iraq during the Iraq War. And you'll probably remember that when the U.S. went into Iraq, got Saddam Hussein, they put guards around that oil ministry, was heavily protected, and they left the Baghdad Museum wide open. And of course, it got looted. And Iraq has made a concerted effort to try and recover much of those antiquities. And they have succeeded for the most part, but there's still a few things out there. And this 3,000-year-old Assyrian sculpture, which depicts a deity, was expected to go for $10 million. And the Iraqis are saying it does belong in a museum, not in some billionaire's private collection here. Now, this next article is basically addressing something I've mentioned before, talking about the Big Bang and the Large Hadron Collider. The article is out of The Guardian and is basically reporting scientists at CERN were working with the Large Hadron Collider, and apparently this bizarre and wholly unexpected new particle just popped into existence during their experiments. Now, why is this significant? Well, as I've said before, as they claim to keep finding more and more particles like the Higgs boson, there's no way to know. Are they really finding some part of nature, or are these particles an artifact of the experimental process? And as I've mentioned before, particle physicists like to say that particle physics is like taking two clockwork timepieces and smashing them together and trying to figure out what the clocks look like based on the gears and springs that pop out. But taking that analogy one step further, if you crash these two clocks together hard enough, individual teeth can break off the gears and come on out as discrete objects, even though you know they did not exist as discrete objects before. So at the incredible energies and velocities that are being generated in this Large Hadron Collider, are they really discovering new particles, or are they making new particles? And on that thought, we got to take a break for commercials, and we will be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354 or visit MIG911.com.
The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring the freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Most basic diseases are caused by yeast in the gut and metals in the liver, and we all have a bit of both. The garlic in Extendivite has a yeast-killing effect in the gut while also helping the sulfur enzyme in the liver get rid of the metals. Extendivite just may improve your overall health. Products like Extendivite are the only way we are going to get our society healthy. And if you're waiting for the government and pharmaceutical care to solve your health problems, you're going to have a long, disappointing wait, I think. Extendivite is a complete formula for extended life in the new millennium. 80 can be the new 60. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant them anywhere you like and blow up anyone. With this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If you got the money, well, we won't say we did. The towers in New York.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we were talking earlier about how Alex Baldwin's talk show at ABC was doing very poorly in the ratings and is going to be canceled here. It's been a bad season for ABC overall, because remember when Roseanne Barr left, they tried to reboot the show with the same cast but without Roseanne. They called the new version of the show The Connors. It is dead last in ratings. And apparently their last episode has been ordered as well. So this is what happens when your studio production company network falls into the hands of the politically correct. And they're out there pushing the agenda rather than doing what they're supposed to be, which is engaging and entertaining your audience. Okay, over in Palau, they are about to become the first country to impose a widespread ban on sunscreen to protect their vulnerable coral reefs. Now, we already have a ban here in Hawaii at the state level to do that, because apparently some of these sunscreens are in fact very bad, very harmful to the coral polyps, and obviously need to keep taking care of them, because at least for some of the people coming to Hawaii, seeing those corals is a big part of the allure, whether you're snorkeling over at Hanauma Bay or you take one of the tour submarines out there. And our corals are not in the best of shape here. Now, many years ago, on the way back from working on a film project, Claire and I stopped in Fiji, and we got to go snorkeling there. And those were beautiful, pristine reefs, and they have spoiled me for reefs around the world. The other side of the spectrum were reefs I saw down in Barbados, which were absolutely dead, mostly from the two-cycle engines being used on jet skis and water scooters that were pouring two-cycle oil into the water and killing off the marine life. And they were really dead. Here in Hawaii, we still have a lot of beautiful reefs, especially as you get away from the more urbanized areas. And so it's a smart thing to do, is to ban those toxic chemicals. And here's something a lot of people don't understand. Those chemicals in the sunscreen are not necessarily good for you. And what is really best is to cover up, put on a big, large hat. But of course, the sunscreen companies don't want you to think in those terms. You've got to show the skin. You've got to get on out there and, yeah, flash some skin here. Just cover it up with your SPF 2000 or whatever it's going to be here. Okay. Over at the vaccine court, they have admitted that the chickenpox vaccine permanently disabled a young boy. And even while the vaccine makers and the corporate media continue to deny that vaccines are harmful, the vaccine court in the U.S. is quietly paying out money to victims of the vaccine injuries. And after this protracted legal battle, the Department of Health and Human Services has admitted that the chickenpox vaccine paralyzed this young boy. Now, did you ever stop to think that if you spill some mercury, your entire building would be evacuated? And yet the CDC insists it's safe to inject mercury into pregnant women and children. Now, yes, the mercury in the vaccines is in a compound. It's not in its liquid metal form, but it's still mercury. It does seem like our medical industrial complex has lost sight of the Hippocratic principle, not the oath, but the principle. First of all, do no harm. Okay, getting on back to computers here. We've been talking about this scam that's going around where you will get an email saying, we hacked into your computer months ago and have been secretly recording you while you visit porn sites. And if you don't send us however much money in Bitcoin, we will be emailing the video of you enjoying yourself split screen with the page you're looking at to everybody in your contact list. And it is a scam. Okay? But apparently, one young man over in Great Britain took it seriously. His name was Craig Simpson. Actually, he was 56-year-old, so he wasn't a young man. But apparently they discovered on his mobile phone messages that he was being blackmailed into making Bitcoin payments to stop criminals sharing his private information with family and friends. But there was nothing on his phone or computer showing he had ever visited an adult website. He was a victim of ransomware. And it drove him to suicide. Just a world of scams out there. Scams and scammers. Okay, we've been talking about the risk posed by certain unstable volcanoes like the southern flank of Kilauea and Cumbre Vieja in the Canary Islands. And now apparently there's concern that Mount Etna is starting to slide into the sea. So it's a very tall, heavy volcano, and they're concerned that one could plunge into the ocean and trigger a catastrophic tsunami. And it's definitely of concern because every once in a while, Mount Etna still erupts, and it could do the grand plunge on the next eruption. Okay. Over in Oklahoma, they had an earthquake, 3.4 magnitude quake, and Oklahoma really never used to get quakes until fracking showed up. Now, if you live in California or even here in Hawaii, you get used to quakes, big ones. 3.4, you don't even get out of bed for that. But it did rattle the nerves in towns like Tuttle, Bridge Creek, and Blanchard. Well, apparently, authorities are saying that the well operator, whose fracturing seemed to be at the epicenter of this quake, is going to shut down and permanently end all hydraulic fracturing operations, which I think is a very, very good thing. Because we know that these fracking wells are triggering these earthquakes because they're happening in places with no previous record of seismic activity, like Oklahoma. It's thought that the quake that damaged the Washington Monument in D.C. was caused by a fracking well. And the bottom line is that fracking has never produced the volume of oil and gas that was predicted. So, okay, over in Japan, apparently authorities there have approved an extension in the operational lifespan for a 40-year-old reactor near Tokyo that was damaged in the same earthquake that led to the Fukushima meltdown. Tokai Daini also has the same basic design as those that melted down in the Fukushima crisis and will be the first boiling water reactor to be approved for a lifetime extension of 20 years in what is clearly seen as a very controversial move here. All right, somebody just sent me this article. Apparently, Donald Trump is moving to restrict asylum claims at the southern border of the United States as the migrant caravans of mainly military-aged Central American males march through Mexico to the United States. And apparently, the acting Attorney General, Whitaker, came on out with a statement saying, consistent with immigration laws, the president has the broad authority to suspend or restrict the entry of aliens into the United States if he determines it to be in the national interest to do so. Yeah, it's right there in Title 8. So apparently they've had a rethink, and it sounds to me like they're not going to let the migrant horde into the country and put them up in a tent city while their asylum requests are being processed, that they're just going to turn them around right there at the border. Now remember, the United Nations, which is all gung-ho for one world government and globalism, they're already down there with the migrants filling out the paperwork for asylum. But again, under Title VIII, Trump can just simply say no to the whole batch of them. And of course, the liberals and the open border people, they're going to scream, racist, racist, racist. No, illegal is not a race. So let's talk about human-caused global warming. Starting to see a lot of snow coming. Well, it is November. Supposed to get snow here. People are sending me all kinds of pictures of the snow that is starting to fall in their homes, which is kind of cool. It's very pretty. I miss the snow. I know, living in Hawaii, we have to go down to either Maui or the Big Island to experience snow in the winter. Anyway, there's been this study that came out from Princeton and researchers at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, and it concluded that Earth's oceans have retained 60% more heat than previously thought over the last 25 years, from which they said global warming is much worse than previously believed, and the heat is hiding in the ocean, which they've used that one before, and they're out there just waving this thing around. It turns out, remember the principle of reproducibility? Somebody went on in, looked at their raw data, and looked at the process by which they came to their conclusions, and they found a gigantic math error. Whoopsie. Gosh darn here. Okay, good news for space buffs. The Curiosity rover on Mars is back to work. They were able to basically resolve the computer memory anomaly. And Curiosity, of course, was sent to Mars with 2 onboard computers, one of which developed a glitch soon after landing, and they've been operating on the second computer since then. That one developed the memory glitch. They rebooted back to the first computer to run diagnostics on the second computer, and the short version is that the rover is back to running and it's back to working. Still nothing coming from Opportunity, and we'll have to wait to see what's happening with that. Okay, now then, apparently CNN has decided that they want to boycott the future White House briefings because Jim Acosta's press credentials were revoked. Go ahead, CNN, boycott. Boycott all you want. And apparently there's yet another video down in Broward County showing people with ballots stuffed into private vehicles heading for the counting places. This election has been so crooked they have to screw those ballots into the ballot boxes here. Alrighty, and let's see, little economic news here. Apparently, in 2017, 51.7% of kids were living in households getting government assistance. Now, the government loves to have you dependent on them for assistance because then you're going to do what you're told to do. You're going to believe what you're told to believe here. All right, so there we are. All right, so we're coming up here to the end of the show. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And NASA's Parker Solar Probe has apparently survived its penetration of the sun's outer atmosphere. So more good news for NASA there. And let's see. Let's do that. Oh, okay. Apparently, Volkswagen has declared a war on Tesla with plans to dramatically undercut Elon Musk's car firm with a $23,000 electric vehicle. Now, that would be really cool. And I agree, electric is the wave of the future. What we need is a clean, non-polluting source to generate that electricity. Here on Hawaii, we have electric vehicles, we have Teslas. There are free, at least for the moment, charging stations at the shopping malls. Where's the electricity coming from? That oil-fired power station down the road. There's the weak link in all of this. So, but yeah, $23,000. That would be affordable. That would be very, very attractive here. Okay, and apparently the Denver Police Department is considering encrypting their radio traffic. Actually, a lot of cities are already doing that, mostly to avoid lawsuits, along with giving away what they're doing to the bad guys. All right, we're going to take our final commercial break of the show. We'll be back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com, educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. That toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more. Plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And the Jim Acosta story is now becoming the story. They're calling it the controversy. And apparently there is now a resistance building up against the appointment of Matthew Whitaker as acting Attorney General. And interestingly enough, over at Breitbart, they're reporting on this op-ed published today by Attorney George Conway, who's the husband of White House counselor Kellyanne Conway, declaring that Trump's appointment of Matthew Whitaker as acting Attorney General is unconstitutional and illegal. And the argument that he is making is that Trump cannot appoint anybody even to be the acting Attorney General without confirmation by the Senate, which means they can drag it on out and give us another circus like we had with Brett Kavanaugh. But again, the key word here is acting. Somebody has to be in that job. And like I said earlier in the show, we were seeing this Senator Warner was out there saying, we've got to push back against this guy. They're afraid that Whitaker might actually do the job and start looking into some of this corruption and crime. And boy, oh boy, that's going to keep some people in Washington, D.C. Awake at night. Okay. Yeah, they're already calling it the Jim Acosta controversy. And CNN is out there in high dudgeon. How dare you? How dare you dare to pull his press credentials? Well, again, look at how he was behaving. I mean, technically, everybody in the media is a guest in the people's house, the White House. It doesn't belong to Donald Trump. It belongs to us. And when you are a guest in somebody else's home, you're expected to be on your best behavior. And Acosta definitely was not. And I'm definitely on Trump's side on this. Yeah, yank his credentials. Because he wasn't really doing the job of being a journalist or a reporter. He was in attack mode. They're always in attack mode. Trump is right. The media is still hostile to him. And I think the media is just angry because even though the Democrats did take control of the House of Representatives, they didn't take control of it by that much. Not as much as they wanted to. And they certainly lost ground in the Senate. And I think we are going to see a lot of division and factionalism and friction between the two political parties and the corporate media for the next 2 years. And I hope that Trump is going to take this opportunity, now that we're past the midterms, to basically clean things up and actually do his job, which it looked like with Whitaker he might be. But if he's seriously considering Chris Christie to be the Attorney General, I don't know what's going on there with that. Anyway, there's the music. Time for me to get on out of here. I got to do Jim Goddard's show up there in Vancouver. Stay tuned for John Stadmiller. He's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. Please donate to Republic Broadcasting. Please donate to whatreallyhappened.com. We'll be back here tomorrow, Friday, with the lovely Lady Claire. Aloha, America.